in any part of the country at all. And as I speak with a lot of insider information that if the electoral body had not stood firm, this country would have seen something perhaps even worse than the 2007-2008 episode. This was the first time we are seeing a situation where people who are not directly involved with the management of elections heading into the National Tallying Center and trying to demand the reversal or alteration of results. What saved this country was also technology. Because what was on the portal is exactly what came from the polling stations. Now that is a serious advancement in our democratic process. They are slow, they may be baby steps, but they are very significant steps in making sure that we improve on our democratic processes and our elections. And I can tell you that a lot of the observers, the international observers, the local observers, acknowledge that this was one of the better times to get good and realistic and honest results that reflect the will of the people of Kenya. So, we still have a journey to go, but we are moving in the right direction. Musa Abdi, pending bills. Where is he? Actually, you talked only of the county government, but I may shock Kenyans today because the total pending bills on record so far are over 1 trillion Kenya shillings. And I've not talked about those that are in courts where judgment is pending or processes are being had, but that is the magnitude of the challenge that we have. Now, we have a major task because these bills must be verified. Because definitely a good chunk of them are either fictitious or seriously inflated. So there has to be a very thorough audit process to verify these bills before they can be settled. The challenges are immense on this one. Because when you don't settle your pending bills, and I'm talking of the valid and verified ones, you are punishing people unfairly. Businesses are going bust. Auctioneers are moving into people's premises. People are losing jobs. because of these high pending bills. And if you do not inject money through the right way of settling pending bills, you will not spur the economy. You will not spur the economy. But ladies and gentlemen, we are the government. We have been voted in. It's our duty to now solve these issues. But I want to ask you, is it possible that you could have pending bills of 1 trillion plus having accumulated just from the last election? Is it possible? It's not possible. That means these are issues that have arisen over a period of times. And that is why I said there is a series of either commissions or omissions that cumulatively put you into a hotspot. We are in a hotspot to be able to tackle some of these pending bills. What does it mean? Both at the county government level and at the national level. Are we committing procedurally where there is a budget that is approved so that you commit on that basis? Are we signing off those contracts after going through the process? If not, then we will not solve our pending bills problem. And they normally say, dawa ya deni ni nini? So as a government, we have to remember that there's that businessman in Kiambu, there's that businessman in Mandera, there's that businessman in Kisumu who built a road, who built a school, who supplied something and has not been paid, but his banker is now auctioning him. So we have to work to solve some of these issues. Now, I hope I'm not painting a gloomy picture. I'm trying to put Kenyans in a realistic place. Once we appreciate that, then we will find solutions together. And we are equal to the task, all of us. And we must look at technology as a place that we must leverage on. Finally, for the Professor Mbutu, I want to agree with you that we must leverage on the academia, we must leverage on research, so that we have accurate data to support us in our decision making. We must continue working against leakages and wastage in public office. We must improve on our revenue collection. And we must also become innovative and figure out how we can even leverage and support universities in a different way. I'm sure you know that in most of the other countries, universities are funded more through research. Maybe 60% research and 40% other commitments. Maybe the school fees and what have you. But unfortunately, we have been living in a situation where almost 90% of our universities here are being funded through the payments. That is not sustainable. So we will have to figure out, and there are experts like yourself and others who can give us ideas to break away from that cycle so that we can have alternative funding mechanisms for universities so that they can be more sustainable. I think that was the first round. I think I can only manage one more round because of time, and then I'll have to go.
Thank you so much. Can you give them a better hand clap? I think he's been very patient in response and very candid. I think that is the kind of conversation that we. The very last round. I think I have a gentleman here who had requested before we start. I want to give to the good lady here, so number 2. And then I give to the gentleman here, number 3. And I think to the good lady here, number 4. And I think the gentleman, and this the lady here, number 5. I think that we can only do that. Yeah, the rest, by the way, Kunavina will respond. Badai. Thank you so much. Can we start with the gentleman here, please?
Thank you. My name is Samuel Mora. I'm a tax agent. So you're welcome to the profession. And I work for Grantham, but I'm here on behalf of ISPAC. I was actually meant to facilitate this particular session, but the Prime Cabinet Minister has done justice to it. I like his sober way of handling things, and Prime Cabinet Secretary, may I tell you, this place, there was anger before you came, but I think you've done some justice. 2-3 things. You had mentioned, or you told us to stop living a lie, but I'd also throw probably a bottle back to you and say, our leaders should also stop making promises that make us live a lie. Because one of the things that was mentioned was like, how do you expect the price of gas to go down, and yet it is heavily taxed? And at times we hear that we intend to actually construct 100 dams in 5 years, yet in the last 10 years we were not able to do even 5 stadiums. Subsidies, when Prime Cabinet Secretaries, just to let you know, it was good idea but bad for the government, because it has left oil marketers in a very bad position. I'm privy of some of which are our clients, where they are owed millions of Kenyan shillings, and they are now at the mercies of banks. In case they want to call their overdraft, they will not be able to do anything. But also, what really makes probably most of us not very comfortable with the promises that we are getting is that we see a lot of negative stories coming from the government. If we are to live within our means, let also the government live within its means. Because when we hear stories that we are spending 4 million shillings on hospitality in a day, and yet there are people who are starving, people enjoying foreign trips and per diem just to go to Israel to know how to navigate drought, when an Israeli can come to Kenya and train 1,000 people in one go, then we fail to understand what is the priority of this government. Thank you.
Thank you. The good lady, well-dressed, gender, desk office UDA. Very well. Good.
Good afternoon, Your Excellency. My name is Salma Ochieng, a youth in this country and also a woman. We cannot talk about growth and run away from politics. We cannot talk about growth and run away from leadership. Your Excellency, you've been an experienced political leader in this country. Now we are looking at a position of sustainability, and you have also talked about sustainability. Now, my question. There's a conversation going around amongst Kenyans on the need of political parties to merge, to form one party, going the way of Tanzania, South Africa, and the United States of America. Now that we have representation of almost all political parties here, and I appreciate Professor seated next to me here, what is your advice? What is your take? What are you telling Kenyans for purposes of sustainability? Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. That is upcoming Deputy President in future. Can we give to the lady here, please? The lady here. The lady here. I will only pick those I had given, please, for now. Good.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Molin Ann from the Technical University of Kenya and USPAC. And my question this afternoon, from the line that His Excellency gave us earlier, that it's a series of omissions and commissions. So, my controversial question on democratic development. There are offices that have been reintroduced by the current government of the spouses and maybe the first daughters and sons. And to these, there are more incurrences of expenditure that will be inquired by the offices. Instead, why don't such expenditure be taken elsewhere, in, for instance, for help for us university students? Right now, we are not receiving our help as it was supposed to be initially, like in other government and everything. So, how is this offices relevant to the cost that we are facing as a country?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. The other one, the gentleman here, please. Give it to the gentleman and the good lady, and we are done. We want to recognize the opposition SG, Omwami Edwin Sifuna, please, and perhaps Kenyans knows why he's late. Probably he has been passing somewhere, and you may want to update us how far you have gone. Thank you very much. Can you give the gentleman, please?
Hello everyone, good afternoon. My name is Dickens Ogola. I'm from KMTC, Nairobi campus, but I'm here under AILF Nairobi, UN. First of all, I would like to echo Mr. Malala for his great work he's doing in the Western region. Actually, he's the only politician I've ever known to fulfill his promise. When he gives us the tournament, he will always fund it successfully. Thank you for that. The second thing I'd like to say is that to ask the question to the PM is that you said when you were campaigning that this state capture, and that we are going to work on that so that every institution, government institutions are going to be independent. But actually, of late, I don't know if it's that their independence has made them to fall. Some of them, like the office of the ODP2, this guy has decided to throw away the cases without giving us any reason. These cases are touching the individuals in the top government officials. And these people, we have been given, even their account that were frozen, were back to them, and there is no reason as to why they have been given those funds. And there is no reason, they have not been told why are those cases thrown away. The second thing is on even the EACC, even on the judiciary. Recently, you remember they gave us a judgment, a ruling, that was totally against our customs, against our tradition as Christians and as Africans, and you people talked nothing about it. Some of you are just sugarcoating it, that they'll come to see. You know, then the last one.
Yes. Yes.
The last one.
Yes, sir.
Is on the question the Alliance Moise said. You know, there's a question he posed to the PM that he didn't respond on. I think maybe because it was attaching indirectly, the question that lady also I said, Senior, may you give us the elaboration on the same so that we get to know. And even to my concern, that the office, you've always been the champion of protecting the Constitution. And I've always seen you on every platform saying that Constitution must be protected. But to my understanding is that the post you're holding is not in the Constitution. Just a moment. Right now, we are told that there is posts that are created in the government. People are claiming they have funds. They are claiming you have, like the shortage. You've said you have, I don't know, 1 trillion. Let me just continue. Let me say, these officers. Let's relax. These officers.
All right, thank you.
These officers are funded. These officers have staffs. These officers are staff. Even they are given vehicles that are serviced and fed by the government, our funds. So you people should tell us if you are creating these officers, yet we need money to start to settle those bills, to feed people, and you are creating such officers.
Thank you.
Explain to us. Thank you.
You made your point. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Asante sana. Let's give to the gentleman here. Thank you so much. Let's give to the lady here. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Though you mentioned Malala is not here, tutapeleke ujumbe kwa Malala. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Miriam Opondo. Maybe it's a question or a recommendation. I'm not very sure, but it's touching on the issues of persons with disabilities. Section 54A of the Constitution talks about 5% opportunities for persons with disabilities in every public service whenever we have any opportunity. But my concern is with the word progressive, because when you say progressive, it means that when you're having these appointments in public service and other areas, you'll say that maybe progressive should wait until later. So that is why persons with disabilities are not getting these positions. So I think maybe it would be good if that word progressive, you see a way of getting it out of the Constitution.
Good.
Because we really need these positions as persons with disabilities. We need equity, as you spoke about it, and we also need employment just like anyone else. So if we are talking about this 5% realization and we're saying it's progressive, it may just be postponed for many years to come.
Thank you.
So maybe you could look for a way of getting this word progressive out of the Constitution. Otherwise, people will keep saying, after all, it's progressive, so let's just wait until the other year. So people with disabilities need access to health, access to education, access to each and every sector in this country. But if you say progressive, then maybe we may never get there. So I think for me that is a concern, so that we can have equity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Can we get the wisdom of Professor Lonyangapo for a minute, so that when I give to the Prime Cabinet Secretary we are done, and then I'll give Prof. Very good. Thank you so much. Professor Lonya.
Thank you. The Prime Cabinet Secretary and colleagues. I'm very proud, sir, having listened the way you are responding and the way you are handling the concerns that are coming from Kenyans. I've been one of the facilitators and one of the participated in the forums that have been going since yesterday, especially in the Center for Democracy. And I am so happy with the interaction that we are setting for us as Kenyans. And this is the way to go, so that we can be able to ask raw data that we think needs to be asked. We don't know, and even those that we know. So what we learned as we were discussing on democracy here, you see, as Kenya has been a multi-party state for 11 years. We are single democracy, single state for 50 years. And we have countries that have been having multi-party for the last 200 years, 150 years. So to me, I want to propose that the open space that we are seeing now, coming from the current government and the future governments, we really need to participate as Kenyans to make sure that we propose what we think should come out to be followed for the sake of our people, but not also that we have common values that don't change for this country for us to continue to be one. And we should not fast track our democracy to be equivalent to those that have been alive for almost 200 years. We can't. So the challenges we have, we continue moving it together, but we need to have safeguards. And I'm proud that the Prime Cabinet Secretary and all the others who are in government and those of us who are also outside are putting the nation at the heart of our movement so that we don't go beyond that. Otherwise, I'm happy to listen. I'm told my friend, Professor Giveta is around. I am on leave for a few more years before I come back. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Therefore, I would want to welcome His Excellency so that he can be able to respond and to give us his partition. Welcome, sir.
Okay. I'll start with Sam Mora from Granton and Thornton. I think this is a complex issue, as I said earlier, the issue of the subsidy and around the fuel challenges. When the government of Ruto, which I am serving in, took the decision on the subsidy, is because we realized that the subsidy was causing more hemorrhage to the economy than what it intended to cure. All right? And I gave the figure of about 20 billion per month, which was supposed to be raised to fund the subsidy. It was clearly not sustainable. Clearly there are some teething problems, even as we speak, on how we can improve on the fuel supply flow in the country, and that we shall do. But clearly we are not going back to the road of subsidies. Okay? There are other issues that relate to the foreign exchange issues, and conversations are going on in government. To what extent should there be intervention or no intervention, so that if that opens up appropriately, the market will help in stabilizing this particular issue. So it's a conversation and a thought process that we are going into government. The others have had you, the issue of how we can continue to make sure that unnecessary expenses or expenditure is literally being eliminated. So we'll work on that path. Salma Ocheng, on the issue of whether parties should merge or not. We are here at the Center for Multi-Party Democracy. The Center for Multi-Party Democracy. I don't know what more I can say. To enhance democracy, political parties are recognized in our constitution. They are then cultivated, they have structures, and if there is going to be any alteration whatsoever, there are democratic processes rooted in the constitutions of those particular parties that will guide the process for such a decision if it becomes necessary. So at this stage, what I would like to tell people, if you are to ask me, the competing challenges we have the drought, we have the fight to bring the cost of living down, we have to deal with the pending bills and so forth. To me, the issue of a merger or non-merger is actually at the bottom of the priorities. when we leverage what we are supposed to be doing. So I think let us move forward and see how we can move forward without diverting attention from the core issues. And the core issues, in my view, are those that are being talked about in this forum. Now, let me come to Anne. Was it Anne? Yes. Anne, and to some extent, Dixon Ogola. You have raised a very fundamental issue about offices in public space and so forth. I think it's healthy that this conversation takes place. All right? So I want to make it clear to the people here is that from a personal level, if I speak specifically to Musalia Mudavadi, I want to make it very clear that there is no public expenditure that has occurred in the conversation around Tesi Musalia. And I don't see any public expenditure occurring because I fully appreciate that activities of this nature are not government activities. They are social, philanthropic interventions that we make. And for the avoidance of doubt, Mrs. Mudavadi has been at this process, whether in government, whether I was in government, or whether I was not in government. And we shall not stop supporting people in any part of the country through charitable efforts. But I am very clear that it shall not be at the expense of the exchequer. Now, there were some cases that you say were dropped. I'll be very careful here because this is an independent office, the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. I'm not privy to the details in the files that are before him. So if there are any issues, his office remains the best office to be able to respond to those particular issues. I can only make comments that will be viewed as second guessing or presumptuous. So it will be better that at an appropriate time, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions will handle that directly. The same goes for the EACC. The EACC will also explain itself when the time comes. I don't know if Ogola and others, if you will go back in history, because that one I know is safe territory, I can talk to it without difficulty, that the retired president, I think in his first term, either his first term or second term, he went to Parliament and he spoke to Parliament and tabled a report about EACC cases and when they're supposed to be done, when they're not supposed to be done, and all that. It was, if you go back to the Hansard, you'll see that report. And if I recollect, that created a very big problem for him because it was perceived that he had interfered with the mandate of the EACC. And indeed, some of the cases that he cited, the lawyers who are very bright went to court and said that there was no due process, no free process, and some of those cases collapsed. it is better that independent agencies like the EACC handle the matter independently, and from where I stand, it would not be prudent for me to comment on that. The issue of the judiciary is the same. We may not like what the judges have ruled, but it is their domain. It is a constitutional position. And they are there to make their decisions. They may be in our favor, they may be against us. But where we are as a country that respects the rule of law, we have no option but to accept the decisions of the court. And more so when it was the last court, the highest court, making a decision. So I'm not a lawyer, but if there was any reason that somebody wanted to review, I think the lawyers can argue if there are ways of seeking a review over something like that. I'm not an expert in that field, so I cannot speak to it. But we cannot run away from the fact that we need to respect the constitutional lanes as they have been provided for. I am a cabinet secretary. Properly vetted by Parliament, ratified by Parliament, then gazetted and formally given my letter of appointment by the President of the Republic of Kenya in accordance with the Constitution. Mr. Ogola, I would be happy to serve you when you come to my office if the need arises. So, the final question that I want to put to Miriam. I remember you, Miriam. We were with you in some of the various fora where you stood out very honorably on behalf of the people with disabilities. And I think your message is clear that the issue of dealing with those challenges need to be accelerated so that we don't use the word progressive, but we just look at it and say, let us implement and let us do it very fast. Thank you. I think that was my final bit, but I want to say to the Vice Chairman and to the facilitators, asante sana. Thank you for your reactions. Thank you for your comments. This has been very enriching. And God willing, if my health is perfect, I hope I will be here again with you on another occasion. Asante sana, and God bless you all.
Thank you. I think it deserves a much better hand clap, more than that we've done. We have